Kong has encountered many giant beasts throughout the years. The Tyrannosaurus, the giant boa, the V-Rex, the Skullcrawler, all doing battle with the king and all being defeated. But none have made Kong as rage-filled as the monster we uncover in the recent Skull Island anime. From the get-go, we see the Kraken, as it's called, sinking a boat, tearing helicopters in half, and even throwing whales across the whole of Skull Island. With electrical powers and poison stingers capable of killing anything it touches, this titan gets off on being an asshole and managed to intimidate Kong by hitting him where it hurt the most, his heart, and the result is heartbreaking. But what did it do that crushed Kong and made him hate the Kraken with a blind fury? Well, let's go over all that today. I'm Alistair, and welcome to DangerVille. Ever since Kong's inception, the eighth wonder of the world has had a female companion that helps convey his emotions to the audience and allow us to sympathize with him from the perspective of someone that understands him. Well, apart from the original, she just genuinely did not want to be there. But Dawn, Andaro, Weaver, and Gia all allow the viewers to get up close and personal to the king, to recognize him as a real character, to get into the mind of Kong. This tradition has been set in stone since 1933, and it's still happening today, as in the Skull Island anime, Kong has a new companion, a tribal girl who ends up being perhaps the best character in the show. She comes from a group of Spanish colonists who became stranded on Skull Island after a shipwreck. It's likely that her society has been present on Skull Island for quite a while, because they've adopted several iwi formalities. She's a strong, skilled warrior who's capable of putting up a good fight against monsters much larger than her, but she's also empathetic and is perhaps the only person on the island that truly understands Kong, and she has a real brother-sister friendship with him and unconditional love. They go on hunts together, fish together, and sit as she talks to him whilst they look at the stars. One day they find a pack of giant chameleons that have been eating these Sker buffalo on the island, so they set off to deal with the invasive species. Kong drops a huge boulder on the tail of one of the creatures and initiates a brawl with the pests. Now this fight is brutal. On one of the chameleons, whilst clinging onto its tail, he slams it onto the ground repeatedly. And as for the other one, he takes the boulder and slowly crushes it. One was dropped from thousands of feet in the air and landed onto a rib bone, impaling the monster. The fight ended when Kong slammed one of the monsters onto a cliff, where it cracks open the rocks, leading to Kong and the girl being crushed by the landslide. Thankfully they survived, but the girl is furious at Kong for being so reckless. His actions almost killed them both. She leaves him by saying, "You're not a king, you're just a stupid animal," and Kong roars at her, clearly coming from a place of passion. Kong goes off to cool down, literally, to clean his wounds in the river, but the blood trickles down into the water and awakens something ancient that's been slumbering beneath the waves. Kong goes to the mountain to watch the stars and realizes how lonely he is without her and how much he misses his friend. The next day he tries to make it up to her by bringing her an entire tree of fruits, but the gesture isn't enough to win her over, and he reluctantly leaves the tribe to try and figure out another way to win over her heart. But as he leaves, the sea beast that was just awoken has targeted fishing boats and is bringing them down, picking them off one by one to feast after its long hibernation. Kong's friend is walking by the beach, and she sees what looks to be a tidal wave coming towards her, but it turns out it's actually the sea monster hungry for more food. She screams, which alerts Kong to her distress, and he rushes to her rescue, only to find the town flattened with bodies scattered across the land. Kong, in a panic, looks for his friend and finds her under several planks of wood. He uncovers her and picks her up to see if she's okay. She looks frail, with wounds all over her body and struggling to breathe. The culprit rises out of the ocean to intimidate Kong, cracking its tentacles on the ocean as if to challenge him. And Kong only looks upon it in fear, anger, and also hate. He puts his friend first and retreats to check if she's okay. He returns to the temple ruins he calls home and opens his palm where she lies. She's barely alive. She puts her hand up and says, "My king," and Kong comes closer and she strokes his nose before succumbing to her injuries. Kong sits with the body and hunches over, mourning over the loss of his closest companion, his first love. He goes on to keep her necklace by his throne as a memorial to his lost friend, to remember what she meant to him. He buries her at the very mountain that they would sit and watch the stars together. But at that moment, the kraken rises its tentacles out of the water, almost to torment him. This is when Kong's emotions get the better of him. His sorrow turns to rage and he roars into the sky, signaling to the kraken that he will tear it in half when the time comes. And in the final episode, Kong is lured to the beach to try and kill the sea beast so our lead characters can escape the island. It puts up a good fight, throwing Kong around and even almost drowning him. But Kong slams down the oceanic titan onto a rock where he beats down on it and ends up ripping the titan in half, which acts almost as a form of emotional healing, stopping this monster from ever harming anyone again. Now the spirit of this little island girl can rest in Kong's heart. The story of how Kong grew to hate the kraken is one of heartbreak, and it ends up explaining Kong's connection to Gia and why he's so protective of her. This gesture we saw in Godzilla vs. Kong now has even more depth, and it's a sign of huge importance to Kong, which only strengthens the bond between the two, leading into Godzilla and Kong, the new empire. But hopefully Gia's story doesn't end the same way as Kong's first love. But what do you think about the story of Kong's love? Did it leave you emotionally crushed as well? Let us know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe and stomp the notification button to become a resident of DangerVille today. And be sure to leave this video a Kong-sized thumbs up. I've been Alistair, and we'll see you residents in the next one.